Now what I'm going to show you now, we have talked about, and many sharp-eyed viewers have known that this was an important thing about this clip for a long time. Here comes the wave. Look at the dark underlined crater in the center of your screen. Watch how it's displaced, almost like you're looking through water. There goes the wave backwards, forwards, the wave hits the crater, displaces. This wave is displacing, as if you were looking through water, the entire image of the moon. Now, I've never taken the time to animate this. I have talked about it. There it is zoomed in. Now this is running at 30%, and I'm going to zoom out. There goes the wave to the top, and there's going to be another wave coming in from the bottom. Now I'm going to run this at 30%, so as the wave comes in, you can choose any landmark you want. Here comes the wave from the bottom to the top. Choose any little landmark you can see there and watch it be displaced. Now that round looking ring crater, forwards, backwards, and one more time forward, and I'll zoom out and you can watch it go all the way to the top. Again, this is at 30% with quite a few filters like find edge and some other things, invert. Now that means a lot. That means the entire image of the moon was displaced by this wave.
Well, since I don't know what to trust anymore, I've gone back to this a lot, especially recently. I was born into a Catholic family, and this is actually my mother's Bible, but I keep going back to this that I, a year and a half ago, made fun of to my roommate, and then had to put my foot in my mouth because, I don't know, this could actually be a depiction of our Earth or something similar to it. But as you can see, there are waters above the firmament in this picture, and then it has firmament of the sky, which might allude to some type of liquid up here, maybe. But of course this is an illustration. So I'm using this as my basis for now, because I've been pulled back to Christianity in so many different ways in the past few months.
Known depictions of the Earth, it's always been flat and enclosed by a dome. The Egyptians, Norse, Hindus, Mayans, Incas, Navajos, Hebrews, etc. all knew that the Earth is flat and covered by the firmament, which is basically an impenetrable barrier encapsulating the flat plane. The flat Earth model dominated for thousands of years. It wasn't until 1543 that Nicholas Copernicus proposed the heliocentric model of the universe. But even with that, flat earthers and the flat Earth model still went strong all the way up into the 1900s. We see proof of that with books like Zetetic Cosmogony by Thomas Winship, published in 1899, Terra Firma, The Earth Not a Planet, Proved from Scripture, Reason, and Fact by David Wardlaw Scott, published in 1901, or even Kings Dethroned by Gerard Hickson, published in 1922, where the author details all of the problems with heliocentrism and the mistakes made by people like Copernicus, Einstein, Newton, Kepler, etc. So we see from the beginning of time all the way until the 1900s, the flattened stationary Earth was going strong. In all honesty, flat Earth has never died. But for the sake of this video, we'll say up into the early and mid-1900s. In a magazine from August 1931 called Popular Science, explorer Auguste Piccard went on record stating, "It seemed a flat disk with an upturned edge after ascending 10 miles high on a balloon." 10 miles is only a little over 50,000 feet. Today we have balloons going up to 121,000 plus feet, which is almost 23 miles, and the Earth still shows nothing but flatness. Not to mention the horizon remains at eye level at that height, something that would not be possible if the Earth was a sphere. Mainstream science says that curvature becomes visible at 35,000 feet. It simply is not so. Now let's run through another timeline, the timeline of trying to hide the flat Earth. Now we're gonna exclude Copernicus here. We know that heliocentrism, spinning ball Earth, has been pushed since the 1500s, but it wasn't until the 1900s that moves were made to hide the true shape and nature of the Earth. In fact, they started programming us in 1912, before Earth's shape was even proven, supposedly. With the founding of Universal Pictures, we have been shown a spinning globe before every movie by that company for over 100 years. But anyway, that started in 1912, and we kept cruising and kept cruising, and in 1946, we have Operation High Jump, where an expedition to Antarctica was led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. They say they went to Antarctica to train, test equipment, and test the possibilities of establishing and maintaining military research bases. They claim to have charted the Antarctic coastline during this time. Who knows what else they found? Fast forward a little bit. 1955, Operation Deep Freeze. This is just an expansion of High Jump, where more research bases are added to Antarctica. Fast forward a little more, 1958. NASA is established, followed by the proposal of the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, and the implementation of it in 1961. The treaty basically puts Antarctica off limits to civilians, with the exception of guided tours that are carefully supervised. In 1962, Operation Fishbowl takes place. Now this is where people start thinking that they found the firmament or dome during Operation High Jump or Operation Deep Freeze, because for some reason, they started firing nuclear missiles straight up as if trying to mess with the firmament somehow. And not to mention the name of the project, Fishbowl, easily symbolic for the enclosed nature of our world. A lot of people don't believe in nukes, nuclear weapons, but I obviously can't confirm one way or the other. Just do your own research. Okay, so the same year, 1962, JFK gives his famous
"We choose to go to the moon"
speech. Now, I think all of these events tie into these guys finding out about the true disposition of Earth, including the crystalline canopy that we can't get past. Keep that in mind. They know we are trapped in and we can't leave, and they choose to pretend like we can leave, which comes back and bites them in the ass later. We'll get there, but let's continue. 4 years later, 1966, Lunar Orbiter 1 captures the supposed first ever picture of Earth from deep space. 2 years after that, in 1968, Apollo 8 captures this. In 1969, they capture this after Apollo 11 lands man on the moon for the very first time. And in 1972, on their 6th and final trip to the moon, we get one of the most famous pictures of all time, the blue marble. These alleged pictures of Earth, especially 1972's blue marble, are the entire reason behind pretending to go to the moon in the first place. The spherical Earth, flat Earth debate is over. All the ancient cultures of the world and all of the authors writing flat Earth books well into the 1900s are incorrect. The Earth is not flat. NASA has proved it. It's over. You live on a spinning ball, just like Universal Pictures predicted. Only one problem with that. It's now 2017. Curvature cannot be detected by anyone on Earth. Motion can't be detected, nor has it ever been proven, and now all of a sudden we can't figure out how to get past low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
NASA's next spacecraft, already being built and tested across America, will do those things and more.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
I think, and many would consider it maybe even science fiction.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Low Earth orbit is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. So we'll say that we can't get past 1,200 miles, and that's a big problem because the moon, according to the heliocentric model, is about 237,000 miles away. Now that's a big difference. Why was it so easy to go to the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972, but we can't go even 1% of that distance now in 2017? Yeah, 1%. We can't even go 1% of that distance. Of course, they blame it on the idea of a radiation belt, but the truth is that the Van Allen belt is a cover story for the firmament. We live on a flat plane inside of an enclosed structure. It has always been this way, and it will always be this way. The ridiculous notion of us living on a spinning ball darting through infinite space is very new on the complete timeline of mankind. And at the rate things are going, it won't be around much longer. The deception of heliocentrism will have been a very short-lived attempt at removing man from his and her divine nature. This is ODD TV.
Hi folks, my perspective here. So something else is going on. Now, when the sun rises in the east early in the morning, and if you're in a tall building, you go to the west side of the building, you open a window in the west, and what happens? The sunlight floods into the room and illuminates the whole room, even though the sun is on the horizon in the east. How can the light from the sun reverse back and penetrate the room and illuminate the whole room? That's because the light that's coming into that window is not from the sun. It's as simple as that. So now what I'm telling you and what we're discussing goes against the grain. I know it does, but we're going to prove it. So before you have a knee-jerk reaction and start throwing things around, chill out, be calm, and pay attention. So to help us understand this, we're going to look at buildings on the horizon. So you'll see, for example, if the sun's in front of you, now the sun travels across. If there's only one light source, the back end of the building cannot be illuminated because the light can't bend around those buildings and illuminate the back of those buildings. It's simply impossible. So something else is happening. You see, this happens at night time because you have one light source at night. It's the moon. The same would happen during the day, just that the light would be stronger in the day. This light that's supposed to be in outer space cannot turn the sky blue. It's physically impossible. So this is not what we see. Your life on earth, if the sun was giving us, it was the only light source in the day, our lives would be miserable. In fact, we wouldn't survive. This is not what we see. Yet in the day, the light's in front of you, the back end of the building is illuminated. Tells you that there must be two light sources in the day. You're going to say, well, that's insane. Well, go outside, use your eyes and look. What we've been taught about the world we live in is an illusion. It's fantasy. So a photographer would do the same. You see, a photographer has a person standing there. He cannot use one light source. He would use a soft light, he would use a reflector, and then he would use a hard light. And it's these aspects of these lights together he can illuminate the person or the object properly. So there's a lion, right? He would take a softbox. This would create the light of day, the ambient light. He would use a reflector on the opposite side. And then he would take a hard light, which is like the sun, and he would move that hard light around until he's happy with the lighting. And it's only in this way that he can illuminate a 3D object in 3D space. And this is the way the world works. A photographer cannot illuminate a 3D object with one light. It's physically impossible. Now, if there was only the sunlight, your world would be a nightmare. It would be ugly. So we have the light of day, a reflector, a dome, like a molten mirror covering the earth, and we have the sun. And it's the sun that gives us the hard shadows and the hard light. And it's the combination of these three things, the two lights and the reflector, that we see the way we do. If there was no reflector, right, and there was no dome, right, so the light's not working from them, and we only have the sun, well, this is what the whole day would look like. The only time you'd see objects lit is when the sun was behind you. Your world would be like a horror movie. And that's a fact. Go try it out. We know this. The crazy thing is that we know this and we understand this, but when we go outside in the real world, we've been so brainwashed that we don't think. We don't appreciate or respect the creation. So some people have taken images like this and have said, well, what is that second sun doing there? This is not a lens reflection because it's behind the clouds. And people look at this and say, what's going on here? What on earth am I seeing? Well, you're seeing the sun reflect off the dome. And as Job said, that dome is like a molten mirror, beat out. You see, here's another image. People look at this and say, well, what's going on? What am I seeing? And people talk about another planet, Nibiru. And you're just seeing the reflection of the sun on the dome. And this is not a lens flare because you see the reflection in the reflection of the water. And people take video footage of things like this and they're astounded. Now, especially in colder areas when there's no moisture in the air, we see this all the time. Now, I've worked in the Mascarene Islands, and during the cyclones, the moisture in the air evaporates. And you see images like this during those periods of the year. And most people look at it and ponder it, but the reality of what it actually is and what they are seeing escapes them. Like the people taking this video, no idea. They just say, wow, it's amazing. Here's people in the Amazon. So obviously after it rained or it's extremely dry in the heat of the day, and they see this and wonder, look at this. While you're seeing the sun reflect off the dome. It's as simple as that. If there was a ball spinning around in space, well, explain how that's happening. If we just spend some time pondering on the creation, you'll see a different world to the one you were taught to believe in. It's as simple as that. This is the real world. This is reality. And these things give evidence that there is a creator, a powerful creator, who has all these things under his power and control. So as the sun sets, watch the light reflect off the dome and it moves with the sun. And there are two of those lights. So if I tell you, well, the earth has a dome and it has two light sources, and these sources are orbiting around the earth, you'd say I'm crazy. But the evidence is there. The reality is this is what you see with your eyes, and then NASA comes with a silly ball cartoon. And this is the reality. You see, the real influence for these artists was the creator. Because the greatest artist and painter of light is the creator. And he's the greatest artist. He paints in real light, the real thing. We can only imitate what the creator does. The creator is a wonderful, marvelous artist. And his creation sings, not just in light, but in sound. It's astounding. It's been an absolute privilege to live and see the work of this creator. I was born, I didn't deserve to see this and understand it. What an absolute privilege. And so, the common sense tells you, if I see this painting, who painted that? You want to learn about this because you're astounded and that's beautiful. When I see this, I ask myself, well, who's painted this? How is it that I can see this and is painting this in my mind with light? And it moves, and it's awesome to look at. We see a gentleness, a loving kindness that is astounding. But unfortunately, we live in a wicked system ruled by despots, psychopaths, who don't want you to see and listen and think. They don't want you to be free. They want you to believe that this stuff just evolved. I mean, look at this. Come on. This evolved? Really? And it's flat. Say what you want to. Your eyes and your mind tells you it's flat. So we need to take time to look and appreciate and meditate and think on these things. And we'll see. No doubt about it. As a creator, And the quality of this creator possesses is truly astounding.